to Big Riff Energy. It is episode 102, and it's April 1st. And fear not, there will be no April Fool's tomfoolery. Before we get going, I have to remind you that Spirit Adrift is officially back. We are playing our only North American show of 2025 on Saturday, May 31st in Austin, Texas, our home turf. That's an Empire with two great bands that, if you're a fan of this show, that I'm sure you will all love. Mean Mistreater and High Desert Queen. No excuses. It's a Saturday. If you're broke, commit an armed robbery. If you got a kid and you can't find a sitter, throw the kid in the trash. If your job won't let you off, quit your job. Don't actually do any of those things, but, you know, we'll see you Saturday. We also just announced for you UK fans, we're doing some shows with 3 Inches of Blood, who are also making one hell of a comeback. They've been gone a lot longer than we were gone, so that's exciting. Those dates are around Bloodstock Festival, and there's also one in the Netherlands. We also are playing fests in Germany and Portugal, and a few more that have not been announced. So keep your eyes peeled if you want to see us live. You North Americans, May 31st is your only chance this year. But for your European fans, spiritadrift.com/tour. Keep your eyes peeled. We're coming to places we've never been, which is super exciting. And my voice sounds extra sultry today. It's because I was yelling and hollering all night long at Spirit Adrift practice, and it's sounding great. Yeah, we're excited to play for you guys. So now that little announcement is out of the way, yeah, been a crazy couple of weeks, man. Announced the Austin show, and there was a lot of I don't want to say indecent public exposure around that announcement, but the J Dawg stuff popped off, as I'm sure all of you were following, and we sorted that out. The PRP done got me again, dude. I mentioned it in the Dog interview that a few years ago I got turned into clickbait for throwing sandwiches and quarters and shit at Limp Bizkit when I was 15. Yeah, PRP turned Wuku Bus, or however you say it. Shout out to Wuku Bus at the PRP. For those of you who don't know, the PRP is like it's a stretch to call it a metal site. It's sort of like a mainstream butt rock. It says metal and hardcore, but it's more kind of just drama stuff. But that guy Wuku Bus, he's on top of it, and he's shout out, dude. I guess I say shit on here and I forget that people listen to this, it's not that I don't like play it safe. I'm not trying to present any sort of like refined version of anything. But yeah, I'll say stuff sometimes and forget that Wuku Bus at the PRP is listening. Shout out. Yeah, he got me a few years ago with the Limp Bizkit thing. He got me this time with Spirit Adrift, Neon Nightmare frontman Nate Garrett wants to front a typo negative reunion. And to be fair to Wuku Bus, if you're listening, man, I appreciate that you transcribed what I said very accurately, and you made sure to include the important stuff, which of course nobody read. They read the headlines and then whatever. I don't read comments, but I was reading the J Dawg comments just to rile everybody up to get more views and stuff, and that worked. But the typo negative stuff, I won't read that shit, because what I said was, I hope they don't do it, right? If they do it, they have to have Josh Silver. If they don't have Josh Silver, throw the whole thing in the trash. Like, they just should not do it without him. I don't think they should do it, period. But you can't do it without him. And I just, I had seen some comments throwing my name around. This is not an idea that I came up with myself. I did have a dream about it because I kept seeing the Johnny Kelly interview pop up. And I was sort of half awake, half asleep. And I just had this revelation, like, man, if they're going to do that, I would want to try to get that gig. I really would. I would try. I'm not saying that I could do it. I don't know. There's only one way to find out. But anyway, people just read headlines in this day and age. And this guy Wuku Bus at the PRP's got a very solid instinct for what's gonna get a lot of views and controversy and stuff like that. It was the top story at the PRP for a minute there. Again, I don't do that intentionally. I do me, and that's it. But sometimes I guess it gets turned into clickbait, and it's the same cycle that happened with the Limp Bizkit thing, whatever, 3 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. It was a while ago now, where PRP's on top of it, like comes out immediately. And then like 3, 4, 5 days go by, and sorry ass Metal Sucks basically just copies PRP's homework and reposts the article. God, fuck Metal Sucks. If you guys haven't heard my last interview on the Metal Sucks podcast, I strongly urge you to go listen to that, because I was just on a kamikaze mission to make it the worst, most nonsensical interview possible and never get contacted by anybody there again. That site is fucking awful. Fuck them. I don't brag a lot. I'm just kind of talking about how weird it is that we announced the show and I felt like there's nothing going on ever. And then the week the show gets announced, it's just like popping off. And I don't brag a lot on here. I try to keep it relatively humble, but newest issue of Guitar World with George Harrison on the cover. There's your boy. Only took me 22 years, man. And it only took me 21 years of writing, attempts at original, unique music that is mine, And then all I had to do was just rip off Typo Negative, and I end up in Guitar World. Funny how that works. All of this stuff sort of reminded me, and this is going to sound weird and disingenuous maybe, or like I'm not fully telling the truth, but this is weird coming from a guy with a podcast and sort of like a, person that's dedicated a lot of his life to getting on a stage and being like, look at me, look at me, look at me, and recording songs like, please like me, listen to my songs, I hope you like it. But this last couple of weeks has reminded me how much I don't feel comfortable being even a little bit in the public eye. Once you get clickbaited or whatever, the J Dawg stuff that happens. And we kind of leaned into that. The J Dawg thing wasn't manufactured. I actually was fucking pissed off because he ducked me. But we leaned into it. I think we both knew that there was no actual real hard feelings, but if we were going after each other, it was just going to hype the thing up, and that worked. But I am not comfortable having like random people on the internet intruding into my space, even if it's just virtually or whatever. It's just a very uncomfortable thing. But this is what people have to do in this day and age. If you're a band or you're running a business or you're doing anything, some of you might have noticed that we deleted the Spirit Adrift Facebook because it just doesn't do anything for anyone anymore. And Instagram's headed that way too. These used to be platforms where if you had a small business or whatever doing your thing, a band is essentially running your own small business. These were very useful platforms for reaching your fans or potential new fans. If you notice now on Instagram, I've been seeing it a lot where I will see a flyer for a show near me. I'll only ever see it like the day after the show already happened. You don't ever see it before the show because I think they have AI or algorithms or whatever, like analyzing all their content, and they're hiding everything from the people that it should be reaching because they're trying to get everybody to pay them advertising money, as if Fart Fuckerberg doesn't have enough fucking money already. Goddamn cyborg. So yeah, something like this podcast, as uncomfortable as I kind of am inviting strangers into my world or whatever, just putting myself out there, it's been by far the most useful tool for attracting people to what I really care about, which is making music. So I thank you guys for that. I get downloads from Bandcamp pretty much every day. I get emails from y'all pretty much every day. Yeah, it works. It works. So getting clickbaited isn't the worst thing that could happen. I think it had a pretty positive effect on ticket sales and people discovering my music. So it is what it is. Got to take the good with the bad. But that being said, people have been asking me a lot about the Limp Bizkit sandwich massacre. This is a true story. We haven't done this segment in a while. We're going to do this, and then we're going to move on to the next segment, which is I'm going to try to figure out what the best and coolest and heaviest riff of 1972 is. I have a few candidates. But first, I almost forgot that this segment exists. So we got to take a trip to the vault of insane stories.
The Vault of Insane Stories.
All right. I told this story on a different podcast. I think I was doing interviews to promote Enlightened in Eternity, the Spirit Adrift album that came out in 2020. Sometime around then, possibly. I'm doing a podcast interview, and the podcast is all about Metallica. So we spend 95% of the time talking about Metallica. And the dude asks me, have you seen Metallica? And at that point, I think I'd seen him 3 or 4 times, but I was telling him about the first time. All right, so let's get in a time machine, and we're going to go back to 2003. Again, I didn't think anybody, when I do podcasts and interviews, I assume, and it's a pretty safe assumption, that no one's going to hear it. And then sometimes somebody does. But, you know, I got ripped to shreds, like, again, because people just read the headline. But what I said at the time was like, I wouldn't do this today. I was 15 years old in 2003. If you know me from the age of what, 13, 14 to the age of about 25, 27, I was a wild person. I was a fucking animal. And it was a lot of fun. I wouldn't do this today, but here's what happened. You also have to understand that in 2003, for people who were into real metal, I think Limp Bizkit was the single most reviled band on earth, and rightfully so. And I do want to clarify that Wes Borland was not in the band at this time. We've got a lot of mutual friends. I've heard nothing but good things about him, but the vibe of Limp Bizkit to me was like, the music was fucking horrible. Like Fred Durst has the worst, most annoying voice that has ever been involved in any sort of band that anybody's ever heard of. I think he's number one, like the worst. Crybaby just sounds like some guy fucking literally crying, but rapping. But it's not cool. It's not crying like R&B singer. Anyway, you guys have heard it. You know, preaching to the choir here. Not only is the music just like atrocious though, and it's an affront to even be like spoken in the same sentence as the word metal. The vibe of the whole deal was the worst, most disgusting aspects of bro culture and frat boy type thing, and like roofie vibes. And, you know, death metal has like misogynistic themes about like cutting people's heads off, and it's like horror movie stuff, and it's clearly just like over the top fantasy stuff. But, you know, whereas Cannibal Corpse is like the cutting people's heads off of metal, Limp Bizkit was kind of like the putting a roofie in a girl's drink of metal. That's the vibe. That's the vibe they put out there. That's the vibe of their crowd. And if you were there at the time, you know what I'm talking about. But they've had this whole resurgence, just like with all the rest of this 90s, early 2000s nostalgia, where these kiddos who are like super woke and against all that kind of stuff just don't realize that, like, if you guys had been around then, you would not be into this. You would not even feel comfortable like supporting them, talking about them, wearing their shit. It was just gross. They suck. They fucking suck. I still hate them. But I really hated them at age 15. I also have to clarify that the Sandwich Massacre was actually not my idea. I had a friend with me, and I'm going to leave him nameless because he went on to serve the country doing all kinds of Captain America, James Bond stuff, and he's kind of like a prominent figure in certain worlds. So I wouldn't want this to reflect poorly on him even though, again, we were 15 at the time. So we grew up in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. There was one kind of like DIY venue run by this family of hippie weirdo people. So we had been to shows there, but this was like the first big show that we'd ever gone to. 15, St. Louis, Missouri, Metallica Summer Sanitarium Tour, garbage dog shit lineup. When Mudvayne smokes the rest of the openers, you know you got a problem. And some of these J Dawg fans have been making fun of us for listening to Mudvayne, which is fake news, but Mudvayne was the best band that day in 2003, other than Metallica, who were good. But we get there, and my buddy and I, I'm going to call him Lance. Me and Lance, we're on the floor, and we run up to the front. There's already kind of like 3 or 4 rows of people at the barricade, but we're milling around up there. Security, for whatever reason, they have like bags of sandwiches that are wrapped in tinfoil. And Lance is like going so far out of his way to get his hands on these sandwiches. He's like asking people, "Are you eating that?" And just like ripping them out of their hands. And he's accumulating like as many sandwiches. He's got them in his shirt and pockets and just like both arms full of sandwiches. He starts handing them to me, and I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing? We already ate, and those look disgusting. They're just like smashed, like peanut butter and jelly, some of them, and some of them were like cheese." And he looks at me with these big excited eyes, and he's like, "Dude, Limp Bizkit is playing later." This band was reviled, man, to the point that like Black Label Society has a live album where Zakk Wylde in the middle of a break screams Limp Bizkit sucks dick on a live album, like as part of the official live recording. So that was a vibe. Like if you were a real metalist, you almost had a duty to fucking hate this band. So we accumulated all these sandwiches. Let's see, we watched Mudvayne. I think Deftones played. Linkin Park played. We were not fans of them either. But there was no hate towards any of those bands really. But when the Bizkit came on, it was a massacre because we found all these older dudes that had like vests with old Metallica patches on it and stuff, knuckleheads, like 2003. Just a different attitude. And as soon as these guys start playing, we start like pulling these sandwiches apart, smashing them up into little balls, and just, yeah, it was a fucking massacre, dude, for the first few songs. We ran out of sandwiches, and I distinctly remember, again, I wouldn't do this today. And hopefully I'll get to make amends for this, but I'm telling this story once and for all, so I don't have to hear about it again. And that's it. We ran out of sandwiches, so I started throwing quarters and shit. And the bass player had a bass with active pickups. We were on his side. And I remember one shot I played baseball growing up. I was a really good pitcher. And one of the quarter shots was so on point that it like hit his strings right on his pickup. And you could hear it over the fucking PA. It was like, ding. And oh my God, I would never do this again today. I am sorry that this happened. Wait, I remember sometimes when you get so angry, you're not sad, but you get so angry that like the adrenaline and the rage is overflowing through your eyes and you have tears in your eyes and it looks like you're crying. That's what was happening to the bass player. And we loved it, man. We fucking loved it. At one point, Fred Durst, J Dawg and I last episode were talking about words that you can't say anymore and shouldn't. I don't think you should say them personally. It's not even just that you can't. I think it's better not to just willy-nilly hurt people's feelings for no reason. But Fred Durst said one of those words to us, told us to suck his dick or something. We were like, no, thank you. We're 15, you fucking weirdo. But he was trying to get us on stage. I don't know what he thought he was going to do. And I understand that this sounds delusional, but the guy I was with, the Sandwich Massacre mastermind, even at 15 years old, was a very, very accomplished wrestler in Oklahoma, which means something, and a very accomplished Golden Gloves boxer. as well, to the point that like when we were 14 and 15, they would have these fights in Dewey, Oklahoma, and they couldn't find anybody his own age, 14 or 15, to come because it would just be like a fucking bloodbath. I remember the first time I saw my friend box, they carted this dude in his 20s. They were carting guys from prisons, grown men from prisons, to come to Dewey, Oklahoma to fight my friend Lance. And the first time I saw him, this dude had like a foot and a half on him. You know, we're 15. He's fighting some guy that's like in his mid 20s, and he took the guy's head off in the first like 30 seconds of the fight. So I just want to be clear that, you know, security didn't let us on stage, but if they had, Fred Durst would have had a problem. It would have been, not from me. I was not really a tough guy at that time, but Fred Durst would have had a major, major problem. So he actually got off pretty easy that night. Anyway, there's the story. If it makes you mad, I don't care. I was 15. This is what we did. We fucking read the Anarchist Cookbook. We made bombs out of household materials and blew up mailboxes and shit and jumped off of buildings into trees. And, you know, it was different times, man. So I don't know. I'd like to squash it with Wuku Bus. If you're listening, here's some good ammunition for you, bro. I'd like to squash the Fred Durst beef once and for all at the Sabbath reunion show. However we want to do it, we can do like a charity, real easy, like boxing exhibition just for fun. We can do a rap battle. That would be fun. I think I'm probably a better rapper than him. I got this voice at least, and he's got his. I know which one I think sounds cooler. So yeah, Wuku Bus, hook it up, dude. Spirit Adrift Neon Nightmare frontman Nate Garrett wants to squash the Fred Durst beef that's been ongoing for 22 years. When we made him cry and made him say some straight up pedophile shit on stage, we can squash it, man. It would be a good opportunity to do it at the Sabbath thing. Make it a real sideshow, you know. All right, speaking of which, I got reunions, you know. I got 2 tickets to Acid Bath. Going, they're doing it right, man. I talked to Wake about it. My only thing is I'm not sure why Jimmy's not involved, because I feel like the drums are so... I'm sure Zach is going to do a great job. He's a brilliant, amazing drummer. Super fucking cool, nice guy. Out of all these reunions and stuff, Acid Bath's doing it right. They're doing it with the bands they kind of came up with, people that they've known, you know, since back in the day. All the shows that they've announced, the support acts are like awesome. Real ass bands, underground bands, part of the actual culture and the scene, you know, that gnarly, like Southern and Mid-South, like dirt metal scene, you know? So I gotta see them with Wake. So I'll be at that show in Florida. I got to see him with Sanford, so I'll be at the show in Chicago. So I hope to see some of y'all there. I hope the title didn't get you twisted up like I got 2 tickets to Acid Bath for you guys, because they're for me. I got 2 tickets to Acid Bath, right? So I'll see you there. That's exciting. Also, I think this episode's coming out Tuesday the 1st. Yeah. So today I'm going to be at Down at the Aztec Theater. I'm going to try to interview some of those guys, whoever's into it. I've known Uncle Jimmy since I was 17. Be cool to talk to him. Like to talk to Kirk. Obviously like to talk to Philip too. Whoever wants to. But if you're at Down tonight, you'll see me creeping around. I was also at the Cavalera gig. So, I mean, that's 2 San Antonio trips in 1 week. For me, that's just unheard of. But I had to go see Necrot, who, you know what? I think Necrot is top 10 death metal band all time for me. Banger, perfect demo, 3 banger, perfect albums in a row. The live show keeps getting better. They do more with 3 guys than most bands can do with 5 or 6 guys. Fucking amazing, dude. So I know I talk a lot about Necrot, but go see them, like, period, any chance you get. Such a fucking awesome band. All right. Best riffs of 1972. Let's see if some bitch is working. Check, yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. It pains me to say this, but how do we define best? If we're talking about best, there's a riff that literally everybody knows that came out in 1972. And I don't like this riff, and I just really looked how to play it right today. So I don't know. There's conjecture on the right way to play it, but this one right here, man. I mean, if you write a riff that everybody in the world that's ever heard a riff knows it, I think that has to be the best riff of 1972. Is it my favorite? Hell no. It almost sounds like chopsticks or some shit. Captain Beyond. You guys heard Captain Beyond, self-titled album from 1972. Amazing. One of the best albums of the 70s for sure. But they have a riff that's kind of similar to the Smoke on the Water riff. The reason that I thought of it is because, well, I'll play it and then see if you can hear something weird, you know? So this is 72. There's a Black Sabbath song from 75 called Megalomania. It's on Sabotage, which is my favorite album ever made. But that one goes. Huh. Anyway, yeah, Captain Beyond. Dancing Madly Backwards is the name of that song. It's the first song on their first album, the self-titled album. 10 out of 10 record. Really, really, truly unique. And I've actually heard through the grapevine that Minor Threat, of all bands, was super duper into the first Captain Beyond record. And I went and listened to some of the later Minor Threat stuff, the 2-guitar stuff, and I was like, oh man, you can kind of hear it. But yeah, obviously Sabbath was super into Captain Beyond as well. But here's Volume 4, Black Sabbath came out, so we got to talk about that. The heaviest, I think Under the Sun intro is the heaviest riff on that album, but I don't like it as much as this one. I think this is the best, heaviest riff of 1972. Let me make sure. Yeah. What is it? That one, Cornucopia intro. However, the riffs and song that are most influential to me basically every riff technique that I like is in that song. All of them. Snowblind, baby. I mean, like, in the fast riff, the open droning strings, the like the full chords, not just using power chords and single notes, but using like the cowboy chords a little bit in the context of heavier stuff. Yeah, but the chorus with the drone note, open strings and everything, I mean, that's basically my whole riff writing playbook right there. I pulled a couple things from other sources, but yeah, for me, Snowblind, like the whole song, is all the best riffs of 1972 in one song. But those are my candidates. Let me know what you think. Question time. Hey, Nate, Ollie from the UK here. Really, really enjoying, super impressed by the Neon Nightmare debut. With the success of the project, will there be continued releases? And if so, will this eventually result in a Nate Playgirl issue? Yeah, I'm already kind of thinking about the next album vaguely. I got some riffs and stuff. I think I got a title for it. And it's going to be really depressing. It's going to make the first one seem like a self-help album, Playgirl. Nah, man, it's the digital age, brother. Get with it. I know Pete sort of regretted doing the Playgirl thing because it was all dudes that saw it. So then he was just getting violently, aggressively hit on by dudes for the rest of his life, which is fine if you're into that, but probably somewhat annoying, maybe equally flattering and annoying if you're not into it. I don't mind getting hit on by dudes. I think it's pretty funny. But yeah, you know, Dave at the label was talking more about OnlyFans or something. But nah. All kidding aside, I would never. I like my wife too much to, and I don't care about none of these other hoes at all. So probably not, bro. Oh, dude, this is cool. I heard from Vince from Evoken. Shout out Vince, dude. New Jersey Gothic Death Doom legends, dude. They're the American version of the Peaceville 3, all like wrapped into one band. But you know what? I like them more. I think they're way heavier than any of those bands. I love this kind of shit, Vince. Thank you for writing me, dude. Vince says, "Hey Nate, it's been a while. I love seeing and hearing Spirit Adrift getting attention that is well deserved. It's honest and heartfelt, which is hard to find these days. Love the conversation." Parentheses podcast you're doing. It's not pretentious babbling like many. Please keep it going. Hope to run into you soon at some point with respect and misery, Vince. I don't know, man. Thank you. Some people would argue with you about the podcast, though, that it is pretentious clickbait fucking drivel. But whatever. They don't matter, and you do. You're Vince from Evoken. So cheers, brother. Thank you. Thank you. When I get these, dude, it makes my day. Like, there's nothing cooler. The biggest reward to me for like dedicating most of my life to riffs and, you know, trying to do cool bands and cool albums is when the OGs like reach out and show respect and yeah, friendship. And I love it, dude. You know, I heard from Johnny C, the drummer of Solitude Eternus, a while back. Yeah, kind of just giving the pep talk. I don't want to be corny and say it felt like giving me like the hell yeah, brother, and passing the torch thing, or like making it known that it's okay for me to like run with the torch that they lit and are still carrying or whatever. I know that's like melodramatic, but you know, there's not a lot of really meaningful payoff to this life. Playing shows is sweet. Having records that you're proud of is sweet, but then you listen to them and you're always going to find stuff you don't like, you know? But I think the thing that gets me the most excited is making friends and becoming peers with people like you, Vince, or Kirk from Crowbar, or Athenar from Midnight, or Wino, or whoever. That's the coolest reward for me. So thanks, brother. I appreciate you, man. Oh yeah, Spirit Adrift played. This is kind of a funny story. I don't think it qualifies for Vault of Insane Stories, but Spirit Adrift played Decibel Metal Fest Philly with Evoken, and it was a fucking hilarious Monty Python type scene because I was sitting in the green room with my foot up, like a bag of ice on it, popping ibuprofen like it was going out of style because I had a broken foot. I had a clean fracture through the biggest bone in my right foot on that whole tour. And then Evoken's guitar player, I want to say his name was Randy, dude, but forgive me if that's not right. It's been a long ass time since I've talked to any of y'all. But one of Evoken's guitar players had been working in the bar in Jersey, like closing shift, and there was some fight or something. Some fucking dickhead, fucking Sopranos extra, put a pool cue into this dude's eye. So, and you know, they thought maybe he was going to like lose his eye. And this motherfucker showed up less than 12 hours later to play the gig still. And he had a goddamn like Kano from Mortal Kombat, like plastic shield over his shit and like bandage and everything. So I'm sitting there with my broken foot up on the table, and he comes and sits next to me with his eye almost like knocked out from this pool cue from goddamn Paulie from The Sopranos. And we're just kind of looking at each other like, what happened to you, bro? And I love that shit, man. It was inspiring to me to hear that guy went from the bar to the emergency room to the Fillmore in Philly to not miss the set. That's what's up, dude. So respect to Evoken. Great band. If you guys haven't heard Evoken, I mean, literally just start from the beginning and go through the whole catalog. It's all great, super heavy, tragic, awesome. Chris, hey Nate, big fan of the show and your musical output. I just wanted to share my new band's work with you. We're an epic doom band from Southern California. Our singer is obsessed with Messiah era Candlemass, and the guitar player and I had already been writing some music together, and she wanted in. Her voice is insanely great. Take a lot of inspiration from Candlemass, Crowbar, Mourning, and some Bolt Thrower in a couple of the riffs. Quality is a little rough as we did it ourselves, but I think track 1 and 3 are pretty strong. Appreciate you taking the time if you do. Guys, this shit is great. It's great. morningstardm.bandcamp.com, but Morningstar has a U in it, M-O-U. I'll throw it up on the screen. I'll put a link in the description too. This dude, it is raw, but when there is potential at the level that you guys have potential, it doesn't matter how raw the recording is, because I hear it. You're right. Your singer is fucking amazing. She's so good. She's so good. Dude, a lot of people try to do that vibrato, epic thing, and it's like, sounds kind of whack, and they don't really know how to properly do it, and their throat sounds tight, and it's, it's flat, and it's sharp, and bro, hang on to her. Fucking do whatever you can to hang on to her, because singers like that aren't just growing off of trees like fucking crab apples. I couldn't really figure out how you would combine the first 3 bands you mentioned, Candlemass, Crowbar, and Mourning. I couldn't picture how that would go with like Bolt Thrower riffs until I heard it, and it totally works. Dude, if I was gonna start a label, Lund from Canada would be the first band I would work with, but you guys would be the second, to be honest. Like, this shit, if you guys make like a full length or whatever, and I like track 2 also. You said track 1 and 3, I thought they were all good, man. There's a little bit of shit I would maybe suggest doing differently, but I'm not going to be a dick and come on here and give like unsolicited advice or whatever. But if you ever, I don't know, want my opinion on anything, I would love to give you whatever tips that could maybe be helpful to you guys, because I'm rooting for you to be fucking huge. And I think if you play your cards right, you will be, for sure. You got the aesthetic, you guys look cool. The sound is like pretty unique, man. And it's drawing from a lot of stuff that people really love right now. People really love Candlemass and Bolt Thrower and all those bands right now. I would lean more into her just being the vocalist, honestly. There's my only piece of unsolicited advice. It's not that the death metal vocals are bad. And I think done right, you could do like an Evoking kind of deal or like Anathema or those type of bands where there's like a death metal vocalist, Paradise Lost, whatever. And there's like a clean vocalist. But some of the death metal parts, I will say, felt a little bit like, I don't know if they felt forced in or if it was just a little too jarring. So I would really think about the vocal arrangements when it comes to the heavier vocals. But I'm going to stop. I said I wasn't going to do that, dude. I don't want to give unsolicited advice. So unless you ask me something specifically, I'm going to shut up and just say, everybody check out Morningstar, Mourning star, from Corona, California. Very, very, very sick. I love it. Thank you for sending me that. I also sent link to Dave from 20 Bucks Spend, by the way. And I was like, man, you might want to keep an eye on these fools, because it's good. Yeah, props, guys. Another Chris, different Chris. Hope all is well. Our band Swamphead recently released a full-length album called Nightfall. We're a sludge doom band from Boston, Massachusetts. We're fans of the channel and would love if you'd consider it for review. Post some Bandcamp links. Yeah, appreciate your time. Yeah, this is good. Swamphead. This is like Grief, Buzz Oven, I Hate God, Church of Misery. Sounds really good. The production is fucking killer. Songs are good. Riffs are good. Vocalist sounds like actually pissed. It's not just kind of like placeholder screaming demon angry guy vocals. Like, it sounds really, really mean and unhinged. So yeah, dude, 2 for 2 on the listener submitted bands this week. I appreciate it, guys. Yeah, so check out Morningstar from Corona, California, and check out Swamphead from Boston if you like sludge and fucking nasty Sabbath riffs and that sort of thing. I think that's it for the questions here. Guys, if you're new, if you have come over from the J Dawg feud or the ongoing Fred Durst disaster sandwich war, subscribe. We just hit 20K over here, which is kind of quite a feat. Like when I started this, I just didn't know what to expect. I started it to promote a record, and that's it. And it's turned into something entirely different. So subscribe, please, to this channel. Just click right down below. It doesn't cost you anything or anything like that. It just, the more subscribers I have, the more seriously like publicists and people will take me so I can get interviews with, you know, the be all end all for me is Tony Iommi. I've been like sort of halfway stalking Tony Iommi's folks in the shadows, trying to gather intel. But the more subscribers I have, the more cool people I can talk to. I've already talked to some of my heroes. I've talked to Max Cavalera and Ted from Dark Throne, and but there's more to do. There's more to do. I would love to be able to get you guys like a Kirk Hammett interview or a Tony Iommi interview or somebody like that. So subscribe, write me bigriffergy@gmail.com. I'll see you tonight at the Aztec Theater at Down. If you're around, come say what's up. May 31st, come see us at Empire. Get your tickets at spiritadrift.com. Oh, yeah. Imperial Triumphant, Goldstar. That'll be the last album I talk about. I'm glad I didn't forget this. I have always understood that Imperial Triumphant are incredibly gifted musicians and everything, and I like their whole aesthetic and the presentation and all that, but I have never liked a single song that I've heard from that band. The reason that I say that is not to insult them. It's to tell you how good the new record is, because I put it on and I was like, holy shit, it's really, really, really good. I get it. And I've been seeing that a little bit, people being like, you know, this band never clicked with me, but wow, it's there's nothing like it on the planet. It kind of reminds me of like Gorguts, which makes sense because they run in those circles. They recorded it with what's his name, Colin Marston, right? Who's in Gorguts and Krallice and a million other bands. It kind of reminds me of like, yeah, Erosion of Sanity, Obscura era Gorguts, or like Pestilence, Spheres, which is one of my favorite albums. But I think it's even more like farther out there. It really represents the New York like extreme metal scene, which has always been really weird and progressive. I think because a lot of those guys are traditionally trained, like expert level actual musicians, jazz musicians, and like classically trained. So this thing is a great representation of that part of the New York extreme metal sound. But it also, you know, has the 1920s noir thing going on. It's skitzed out, dude. It is like skitzed all the fucking way out, and in the best possible way. It's got wild like jazz improvisation going on at the same time as like a riff from Morbid Angel, Altars of Madness. I get them now. I never did before. Maybe I should go back and listen to the older stuff. And you know, me and Zach from Imperial Triumphant did a cover during COVID of Deep Purple, Into the Fire. And it was like one of my proudest moments vocally for me, because I love that song. I love Ian Gillan. And I was trying to find it, and I think YouTube took it down. Cowards, dude. Can't win. Yeah, check out Imperial Triumphant, Goldstar. I think they're on the Decibel tour right now, but it is a great, great, great record. I swore I was not going to listen to new music this year, but you sons of bitches just keep making good stuff. All right, I'll see y'all later.